I was searching around on YouTube and I have yet to find one. So I figured I'd go ahead and do a review of it myself, and if somebody else has it up, well, that's alright. I feel the more the merrier. The review is actually going to be of something that I've had since 1996 when it first came out. It is an older video game system. Game Boy Pocket. This was released in 1996 by Nintendo as a direct successor to the Nintendo Game Boy. I apologize for any discoloration that may come up on the camera. This is a 12-year-old unit, and you know, it's seen its share of use. So let's take a tour of the unit. You have your directional, let's see, there we go. You have your directional pad, your up, down, left, and right. You don't have any like down left or up left or any of that. Not sure why they did that. You have your A and B buttons up here, your start and select here, and your speaker here. Up top, you have your power switch, and that's pretty much it, except you can see the top of the game cartridge. This is a Game Boy Color DX cartridge that I have in here. On the back, you can see the cartridge that I have in here. In case you cannot tell, this is the Pokemon trading card game, and there pretty much is nothing else on the back with the exception of the batteries. This takes 2 AAA batteries, and I really can't tell how long they last, because if you take a look right here, there we go, right around here in this area, right around here where my finger is where a power light would be. There is no power light on this one. There were some Game Boys where there just was no power light, and I'm not sure if these were the first to come out or what and all. I just found it strange. On the left-hand side, we have our volume control and our external port, and if you have a regular Game Boy, you could go ahead and connect up to a regular Game Boy via an adapter. And finally, over here you have your contrast port on the contrast dial on the right-hand side. Excuse me. I'm not sure if you can see this on camera. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer. I don't know if you can make it out. Let me see if I can turn it. There we go. That groove there in the center, that means that it's pretty much at the midpoint. It's like at 50% contrast. So, if you want it at 50%, just wait for that little groove to show up, and there you go. The very last items on the bottom are your headphones and your power outlet. One little thing I should note about this unit is I had a little bit of an episode with it. I would plug it in while the batteries were in it, at least I think I did. And, now understand, this was 10 years ago, okay? This was when I was 11 years old. Anyway, the batteries burst. And as a result, if you can see here on the back, you see some discoloring a little bit. That came from the batteries popping. I really haven't used this too much since they have the backlight of the GBA and obviously the Nintendo DS and whatnot. But let's turn it on and you can see how it works. Oh, I need to darken this a little bit. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and play this, only because I don't think I'd be able to play it well with one hand. But if I move the contrast dial down, you see it got lighter, and if I move it up, pretty darn dark. Now, what's interesting is right here on this setting, they had Game Boys hooked up to these screens for easier play. They did this with a Game Boy that had looked just like this one, and it had Donkey Kong Country in it at a local Toys R Us. I don't really know how they managed to do it, but I just found it interesting and a little unusual. Anyway, let's get back to normal here. Or, let's see what we got. There we go. Really, the best contrast is for the groove to be up towards the top. The groove on the dial here, I'll show you, is for it to be up towards the top, like it is now. And, let me turn this off. And you just pull out the cartridge by just grabbing. What I would usually do is right here where it says Nintendo Game Boy, I would just grab with my thumb on this groove area here, and I would just pull up like that and just swap it out. Here's a view of inside of the game slot. I don't think you can really see that, but then obviously to place your game in, you just line it up with the slot here. Make sure the arrow is pointing down and just toss it in. Once it snaps, it's in there. This little groove here in the game cartridge was actually for the original Game Boy, and this was the only Game Boy that did this. What happened was, when you turned on your Game Boy, there would be a slot built into the power switch that would move outward to block the game from being removed during gameplay. And I thought that was interesting, but I guess maybe after a survey or two they found out that people weren't doing that anyway, or were not intending to do that. Or I guess they decided, you know, they couldn't build it in because of the dimensions of the Game Boy Pocket in order to be the Game Boy Pocket. If we take a look up here on the seal, you will see here, let's see, where is it? Pardon me just for a moment. Right up here, manufactured 1996. The 1989, my guess is that's a renewal of copyright for the Game Boy, but 1989, 1996. So this unit is exactly 12 years old. Up here is where a barcode would go, but I decided to remove it. Wasn't easy. But the Game Boy Pocket was a fantastic system for its time until the Game Boy Color came along. And obviously that was a whole different breed of gaming device altogether. But, you know, the Game Boy Pocket, I absolutely love it. I mean, like I said, I've had it for 12 years. I just put in some batteries fresh this evening. And you can see it. It works A-OK. The speaker is perfectly capable. Everything works. It's just a fantastic system. The only reason I don't use it so much is because because of my visual condition. I much prefer the backlight of the Game Boy Advance SP, or say the Nintendo DS or PSP, just in general, having a backlight on your system, rather than having to put it under light in order to get the best gameplay out of it, because even then it's a bit of a tricky thing to do because of the glare that comes off of lamps. Anyway, that was my little overview and look at the Game Boy Pocket. Any questions and comments are welcome. Thank you for watching and have a nice evening.